Yes, good afternoon and welcome yet to another edition of the Sports Rep Show. It's a lovely Monday afternoon, fine weather outside of the capital, and we're coming to you live from the studios of the Namibia Media Holdings. My name is Jesse Jackson Kauraitha, and I will be your host for today. I'm joined in studio today by a very important man in the sports fraternity, and that's Chief Administrator, Master Freddy Mwiya. Welcome to the show, Master Freddy Mwiya. It's great having you here again.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and also good afternoon, Namibia.
Yes, and well, before I take you into the topic of discussion for today, that will be between me and the Chief Administrator of the Namibia Sports Commission, I'll first go for an ad break, and after that we'll come through to the back page. Yes, welcome back, and we do have an important story in today's Namibian Sun, and that's the back page where we have the PSL concluded. That's the South African Premier League. The likes of Peter Shalulile were very excited. He finished as joint top scorer with 15 goals, and that's with Gabertinho Mango of Orlando Pirates. Well, the player might be on his way to Wits University as well as Dion Hotto, who also was very critical in Beat vs. Wits campaign. He's also moving to Orlando Pirates. It was quite an exciting season for Namibian players plying their trade in the South African Premier League. This is great advancements, and this is good news for Namibia to see that there is such an important role that Namibians are playing in the South African Premier League. Yes, we'll go for yet another break, and then I'll take you in today's discussion. And welcome back again, Master Mwiya. Well, I'm saying that it's good having you here in the studio. It's always important having a man of your caliber in the NMH studios. And today is going to be I'm sure, a very educational topic, and that's about the state of Namibian sport. And maybe we'll touch just a bit on the football situation and how it was the commission with the Namibia Ministry of Sport managed to resolve the issue that was there. But first, I would just like to take you, the coronavirus, this year, I'm sure sports has been on hold here in Namibia. But as the commission, what are some of the things that you have done to make sure that sports remains alive here in the country? Because we're seeing other countries, sports has resumed, but here still things are just on hold. So what is the Sports Commission doing to resolve these matters?
Thank you very much, my brother. I may say in the first place, let me congratulate our boys that are playing their trade in South Africa. It's indeed a very remarkable achievement. Yes. You know, seeing our boys that obviously they are now become great ambassadors. And as Namibians, we are very much proud about the achievement of our boys. Unfortunately, what happens at home, it's something that we really need to look at to see how best we can have quite a number of them that can be able to be exported. Yes, indeed, since COVID-19, have affected the entire world. Yes. Namibia is not an exception. As a small country with a small population, we were severely affected. However, you remember from the month of March, we had a lockdown whereby there was no sport activity at all under stage 1. And immediately we moved to stage 2 and stage 3, and we went as far as stage 4, whereby contact sport in stage 4, we were so fortunate that we opened contact sport, but later on again we went back to stage 3, where contact sport could not be allowed. Yes, but non-contact sport that we speak currently now is still allowed, but even though with limitations in terms of the regulations, whereby you just need to have 10 people at one, event.
Yeah, and also which is the maximum number right now.
The maximum number.
And probably making things difficult, especially for sports,
team
sport and administrators, because obviously sport, you need to make money from gate takings and all those kind of stuff, and sport is actually a game of fans, and when you don't have the fans, I'm sure the motivation becomes difficult. But yes, continue. What do you
obviously, as I mentioned, that we are very much affected in terms of sport, but we also need to understand, we need to balance, human life. It's very crucial, because as much as we would like to do sport, but we also need to look about the aspect of human life. It's good for us at least to, to suppress the pandemic, that at least we can be able to manage COVID-19. That once we are able to manage COVID-19, then we can be able to enjoy the sport that we really enjoyed much. Yes, what we are doing now with our athletes, we are just encouraging most of our athletes to keep on training, keep themselves fit, so that at least the time it will come, that one day or some few months to come or a year to come, whatever happens, that we can be able to go back on the drawing board and also be able to play the sport that we're playing. But what we are also doing currently now, it is the right opportunity for most of the administrators, where they are designing policies, to do some adjustments, so that at least by the end of the day, when we resume sport, that definitely we can concentrate on the field of play and see how best our athletes can be able to perform.
Yeah, most definitely. But Mr. Mwiya, there's something in terms of other countries where they have an enormous number of cases. You can see that things have resumed. Does this speak volume at the level of where Namibia's sport is currently compared to the rest of the world, especially the elite countries and the more developed countries? Does this speak volume of what we need to do in terms of reaching that? Because I understand that many countries, the Premier League's concluded and everything, and here still there's nothing. So does this speak volume of the gap between that?
You need to understand from an economic point of view, Namibia is a developing country, and we cannot compare much ourselves to well-developed countries in terms of facilities, infrastructures, and also in terms of, the readiness to contain the disease, the pandemic that is currently happening. As a developing country, obviously, for us, our facilities, you need, there's a certain requirement that you need to meet for you to be able to run sport. For argument's sake, is the capacity for us to test our athletes. Are we having that capacity? Are we having the funds to test our athletes? The answer is very, very difficult. Yes, and also you look about, lot of logistics that are involved in arranging any tournament of that magnitude. As such, for us, yes, we need by all means to try that with limited resources. Let's take these resources that we have, for the resources to be used to fight the COVID-19, or for us to be able to educate our people and also to prepare ourselves. However, if we could concentrate that we need to do sport activity and start competing now, truly speaking, with contact sport, the figures could rise, the figures could go very far, and it could be very, very difficult for us to manage, the spread of the disease in our own country. I think we are doing very well as we are. Yes, people are still training. We do not necessarily want us to start competing now. That's why we have called all national championship, that there will be no need for any sports code in the country to have national championship the course of this year. So that at least they can just concentrate on training. But the only type of competition that we can allow is visual sports. When you do visual sports, because you are still safe. In electronic type of sport, they can still compete in type of sports.
There was an article in the Namibian Sun a couple of weeks back where we touched on the resumption of sports and how costly it's going to be from now on, while the coronavirus pandemic is still around. So basically, one of the most touched thing was that obviously most of these sports federations will need to spend a little more because of the disinfecting materials that they will need and everything. How will the Sports Commission, or how is it planning to step in and actually also reduce this financial burden on these federations and associations?
It is a very, very good point, especially the aspect when we resume sport, we need to do a lot of disinfection of facilities. Yeah, obviously, like now, this afternoon, I'm going to have a meeting with the Directorate of Sport. They'll be coming to my office at 3 o'clock. We are looking about the aspect of budget.
Oh, you meant you had a meeting this afternoon?
No, we are going to have a meeting this afternoon. Okay. Yeah, we had a meeting.
You had a meeting this afternoon. Yes. Oh, okay, I understand. All right.
Yeah, we had a meeting this afternoon, and that's one of the topics that actually we're looking at. So how best, so that just during the medium-term budget review, that at least we make a submission to see how best we can be able to help our affiliates in that nature.
That's wonderful. We'll go for a short break, and after that we'll speak a bit about the football side of things. It's very important that you mentioned how great the players are doing in South Africa, but we are actually worried about our own here in the country with a lack of football activity. We'll go for a break and then we'll be back. Stop. Welcome back again. And now we go into the football side of things. And I'm sure, Mr. Mwiya, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I wouldn't really dwell much on it. I'm sure you speak, obviously, there is also superiors and stuff like that in terms of the hierarchy of sports and everything. But it was interesting, the decision to appoint this committee to sort out the football mess, and that's the mess between the Namibia Premier League and the Namibia Football Association. Obviously, the expelled league that was planning to start their own league, and the NFA also planning to start a top-tier league. And all this, the Ministry of Sport had to intervene, the Namibia Sports Commission had to intervene. Could you just slightly take us through that process, what actually happened and what forced the Commission and the Ministry of Sports to come to this decision?
Thank you very much. You know, football is one of our #1 sport code in this country. It is a national sports code, and we know obviously there are quite a number of players, you know, that depends on football as a means of survival. And we know it has taken so long that we could not have, you know, we could not enjoy football in our own country. As such, is you know, as a commission, the agency responsible, you know, to regulate sport in the country, we need to support our affiliate whenever things are not happening the way they were supposed to happen. So yes, indeed, you need to understand there is a difference between intervention and interference. Interference is where you are involved in the day-to-day running of the organization, or you come in there and you give rules and you change the leadership. That's actually what you call interference in the English language. But intervention is where you come there, you try to provide the needed support
and guidance
to your members. That's what we call intervention. And it is very crucial that intervention, that's what we need to do. There's no question about it, because we do have some policy document and regulation in our Sports Act, which makes provision in terms of Section 14, which gives the minister the power to give some direct proposal directives to the Sports Commission. And we look at those proposal directives and we advise our minister on those proposal directives. And in terms of Section 8 of our Sports Act, gives the Commission to appoint any subcommittee to perform certain functions. So it means the law guides us. And out of the law that guides us, then what did we do? We did our intervention, whereby we could bring in an independent committee of members. And the purpose of the independent committee of members is to come there, you know, at least to mitigate, to help our brothers and sisters, at least to give them a direction. You know, sometimes when you are in a port, there are times when you're in a port you don't see from the outside. You need somebody from outside to come and help you.
Yes, Mr. Mwiya, let me cut you short there. It's great that the committee is appointed, but looking back, going back into this Namibian football drama and everything, there was certain attempts before of this nature to fix the football mess. And that's what many people are questioning. If this committee is appointed now, is there going to be any change, or are we going to go back in the same direction that we were before? Is there positive response, especially from the football or from the parties involved in this matter? Is there any positive response? Are they willing actually to listen from this committee? That's the big question that we have right now. And I don't know, Mr. Mwiya, what would your advice be in terms of that?
I must be honest with you. I think many people, they fail to understand the difference between the normalization committee and the mitigation committee. The normalization committee were mandated to run the affairs of football. If history tells me well, it's for the first time in the history of this country that we've got a mitigation committee that is appointed. So that's one thing people must be able to understand. This is a group of eminent people with high ethics, integrity. There are many purposes. If people must look at what are the terms of reference of these people. The normalization committee were there to manage, to administer football. They were directly involved. And they were actually appointed by FIFA out of the recommendation of controlling bodies in the country. But this committee is appointed in terms of Section 8. That is, when I looked in the books of history of football, and I looked in the books of the Sports Commission in terms of the intervention, this is the first committee we are putting in place. There are many purposes. Is to mitigate. I think people must be able to understand what is this committee going to do. This committee is not going to be directly involved in football. That's why I would see this committee of members, they are not even directly or indirectly having link in football. There are independent committee. There are many purposes to mitigate. Mitigate to bring peace, to bring unity.
That's quite important. Speaking of links, there's been a lot of speculation, rumors that somewhere, somehow, within the Sports Commission, there are those that are in favor of the NFA because they might have some ties. And obviously, I just wanted you to cancel out that rumor. And that is great that you're saying that these people are independent people and are people just there for the interest and for the sake of listening to what and to solving the situation.
You know, if you talk about, I normally laugh at times when people say you are linked to what?
Yes.
If you are a parent, you have got 10 children. All your 10 children are your children.
Yes.
The issue is by virtue of the Namibian Sports Commission being the regulator of sports. So it is one of our mandate to ensure that we get in and we do check and balances. So yes, people that accuse you are linked, you are linked. No, you are not linked. What is happening is, what does your book tells you? If your book tells you 1 + 1 is equal to 2, but you tell yourself 1 + 1 is equal to 28, then there is something wrong. You know, that's why what we do is, you are not linked to anyone. We are just there to ensure that we manage football.
Yes, Mr. Mwiya.
We help the people who are managing football, that at least they can be able to manage football in a proper way.
And speaking of, we spoke of players, how good the Namibian players are doing in South Africa. Has the Sports Commission actually even followed up of how bad of a state Namibian players are in at the moment, in terms of, we know that they have not been receiving any income and anything? Has the Sports Commission considered actually trying to find ways, or even just to investigate this matter, to look into how these sports guys that used to make a living supporting the families are actually living at the moment?
You know, there's one thing that we also need to understand. What is the Sports Commission mandate? The Sports Commission mandate, we regulate, we coordinate, not only one sports coach. We coordinate the entire sports fraternity in the country. The moment now we just concentrate on one, the same question will say you are linked to football. You are not linked to hockey. Can you see?
Yes.
So people must be able to know that the Sports Commission, or the chief administrator together with his board, we are looking at the holistic approach of sport. So it means what we do is, I remember when the COVID came, we did not just say we just want to look about the welfare of football. We look about the welfare of all the athletes, who are playing their trade in various ways, para-athlete, quite a number of them. And what we did is we requested all the federations to actually submit, the effect of COVID on all our sports, men and women, which they did submit. Unfortunately, the system that we have in our country, most of our sportmen and women, they are not having contracts. Neither are they registered with Social Security Commission. That's why it's very good that out of COVID, a learning curve comes to Namibia, that when we are going to draft our new sports bill, as our policymakers are busy drafting a new sports bill, then we learn from this past experience, or the current experience, how best our new Sports Act is going to address these factors that actually have affected us this time. Yes.
So in terms of also coming back to the football situation, has FIFA been in contact with the Ministry of Sport or the Sports Commission in any way, just to find out as well of the situation on the ground? Or will it be the fact that after this committee is now appointed and finds ways and the problems, and will there be any way that the Sports Commission or the ministry, in terms, I know you're not the spokesperson of the ministry, youth for the Sports Commission indeed, but just saying that, will there be any communication also just to try and see what the role that FIFA is playing in this whole mess as well?
Obviously, our affiliate is the Namibian Football Association. That's our affiliate. So what we are doing now, we are doing internal aspect. I think it's not good for me to comment about the external part currently now. Let's me focus much about the relationship between ourselves and our affiliate, and within the borders of the country. What do we do ourselves together with our football administrators? I think that's the relationship that we are just trying to create for the meantime. So when a need arises that we need to start communicating outside, I think that time will come. But currently now, we would like to resolve the matter at home, You know, so they always say, please solve the matter first in the bedroom before you go to outside. You expose it to everyone. But obviously, that's what we are currently doing.
Yes, I'm sure the whole Namibian nation watching you today are hoping for the best within Namibian football and Namibian sport in general. And so, looking forward to next year, what are some of the Sports Commission big plans? I understand you did a lot this year as well in terms of renovating offices for several sport codes and a lot of stuff. So what should we look forward to for next year in terms of the Sports Commission itself? What do we look forward to? What are we going to see? What are the changes that will come through?
You know, post-COVID 2019, definitely there will be a lot of activities if everything normalizes next year. It is going to become a very crazy, busy year of sport, I can tell you, because we are going to pack everything in 1 year. Look about the Region 5 Youth Games that would also take place next year. Look about the Olympic Games, the Paralympic Games. You know, you got also Confederation African Championships, and you look from the Sport Commission point of view, we have postponed our expo to next year, and you look about, we were supposed this year to have what we call National Sports Day, which could be the first of its kind in the country, and we're going to postpone it to next year, which was supposed to run for a week, you know, at least to sensitize our politicians, to sensitize everybody in the country about the value of sport. So it will be a very crazy year in terms of sport, I can tell you. It will be every week, if everything normalizes, every week, every month, it will be a busy year. At least it's a payback time.
That's what we are all hoping
for.
We are hoping for. I mean, there's so many sports thirsty people out there hoping that things could change.
It will be a payback time.
We hope for that, actually. We hope that the Sports Commission and sports associations, federations, and everyone will actually be able to give and bring back that excitement, the fitness, and everything that was, that we used to witness before the coronavirus pandemic came. Any last word you might probably want to say before we close down?
No, I wish for all Namibians that please give this committee time. You know, we don't want to do a small fixing of a tire here and tomorrow another fixing of the tire there. You know, what we want to do the holistic approach that at least we can be able to bring football to its, you know, a normal process, and also to ensure that at least sport growth in this country. Let's support one another and let's be united, you know, especially sports people. Sport unite, you know, the nation. So I would like to call upon all Namibians that please, we are one, we belong to one country. At least we need to be very much united. At least we need to preserve the peace that we are really enjoying in this country. So what I'm seeing in social media at times, I always ask myself, come on, Namibians, we are from one family here. So please, let's emulate the example of our leaders. You know, they fought for this country and we are celebrating and we're enjoying this country. So let's remain united and be in oneness.
Thank you so much, Master Mwiya. Thank you for having made time actually to come to the studio today. I'm sure you always have a busy schedule, but it's always important to bring out this information. We always like to hear it from the horse's mouth, as they say, because sometimes what we hear on social media, what we read in the newspapers and all that, obviously we would also want to hear the voice of the man behind the Namibia Sports Commission, and it's great it has been a privilege having you here. And from me, Jesse Jackson Kauraitha, that was it from today. Catch us again live on Thursday afternoon. Thank you so much. Good evening.